D'Artagnan's Double Trouble. D'Artagnan made his way through the Parisian streets with his manservant Planchet in tow. It was not yet winter, but it was bitterly cold. D'Artagnan barely noticed the wind, though. He was late to meet Constance, lady-in-waiting to Queen Anne, and nothing was going to stop him. He hurried into the inn where she would be waiting. As he pestered the nervous landlord to Constance's whereabouts, the usually alert D'Artagnan failed to observe his nemesis, the Count Roquefort, sitting in a dark corner conversing with three dubious-looking men. The one-eyed spy spotted D'Artagnan and turned his face into the shadows. He mumbled a few words to his companions, then snuck out the back way. Across town, D'Artagnan's three best friends, the Musketeers, Athos, Porthos and Aramis, were completing a series of punishment drills for Monsieur de Tréville. They had been caught duelling with the Cardinal's guards again. "This is all your fault," the enormous Porthos boomed at Aramis. "My fault indeed," replied Aramis, in a manner more pious than normal. "You were the one that tripped that imbecile in the first place. Athos and I should box your ears right now for landing us these duties." "He only tripped that Cardinal's man," injected Dor Athos, "because you were trying to romance his daughter, and Porthos was only trying to save our embarrassment and her shame." "How dare you cast such aspersions?" retorted the now animated Aramis. "I shall pray for you both tonight before I retire." Athos did not react well to his friend's denial of responsibility. He reached for his sword and began to mumble about learning lessons. "Enough," Porthos chuckled at such sport. "Gentlemen, there is only one thing we should be arguing about now, and that is getting out of the cold and filling our bellies with meats and drinking plenty of wine." Athos loosened the grip on his hilt and said in his usual deadpan style, "That's three things." Immediately the other two burst into peals of laughter. "My friends, as always, we shall dine at Jack's." Meanwhile, hot-headed D'Artagnan was becoming increasingly frustrated with the shifty landlord who said nothing and kept glancing at the men in the corner. D'Artagnan grabbed him and began shaking him. The scene was drawing a lot of attention. The largest of the three men in the corner stood up and revealed that he was wearing a musketeer's uniform. He strolled over to the middle of the room and boomed to the other customers, "Ladies and gentlemen, no need to panic, for I, Porthos, will take this roustabout in hand." "Porthos? You're not Porthos," cried D'Artagnan as he released the landlord. "I am, and with my companions Athos and Aramis here, we will put an end to your harassment of this poor gentleman." The other two men came and grabbed D'Artagnan by the arms. The false Porthos brought a huge fist down on D'Artagnan's head. Planchet, who had been trying to warm himself by the fire, stole into the street and ran to Jack's as fast as his stubby legs would carry him. D'Artagnan awoke in the corner, where the counterfeit musketeers had been. He was groggy, trying to gain his bearings. He looked around to see these false friends leading the inn's customers in a few verses of the musketeers' marching song. He reached for his dagger so he could cut the ropes which bound his wrists. But alas, he had been disarmed. A hush descended upon the room. The counterfeit musketeers had everyone resume eating their meals, and then rejoined D'Artagnan in the corner, squashing him in tight. Constance walked through the door. She was late. She approached the landlord and asked him where D'Artagnan might be. D'Artagnan tried desperately to get her attention, but was held back by the false Athos. The man who claimed to be Pathos once again strolled to the middle of the room. This time he announced to the assembly that the Lady Constance was a traitor to France, and was therefore under arrest in the king's name. "And who might you be, using the king's name in such a way?" a deadpan voice asked from the back entranceway. "I am Porthos, the musketeer," came the reply. "You are no more a musketeer than you are the real Porthos. The real Porthos wouldn't allow me to stand here chatting while the real Aramis walked up behind him and knocked him out." "What are you talking about?" The club came down on false Porthos' head. He had just enough time to turn around to see Aramis laughing before he passed out. The other two counterfeit musketeers jumped out of their seats and drew their swords. They ran at Aramis, but Athos and Porthos intervened, carrying their sword thrusts with ease. Some of the onlookers didn't like what was happening to their new friends, and a large fight broke out. The real musketeers versus everyone in the inn. There was much swordplay and swinging from chandeliers. In the thick of the fighting, D'Artagnan, wrists still tied, managed to escort Constance outside to safety. Planchet was there waiting. He cut his master's bindings and handed him a sword. D'Artagnan rushed back inside to aid his friends. Very shortly after, the four friends dragged the counterfeit musketeers outside and cast them into the gutter. It was at Jack's later that evening that they managed to piece the puzzle together. Constance had been on an important royal mission. Roquefort had cooked up a plan to kidnap Constance for questioning and maybe kill D'Artagnan in the process. To avoid suspicion, he had tried to implicate the musketeers by paying the kidnappers to imitate them. Somehow they hadn't factored the quick-witted Planchet into the equation, and that was their undoing. "To Planchet!" shouted the friends, toasting the health of D'Artagnan's manservant. "And to us! All for one, and one for all!"